Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Before actually purchasing a MPC, I worked pretty much exclusively on the machine, and I really love the machine, the Native Instruments machine, and their platform, and the sounds, just how easy it is to create. I've always wanted an MPC, and I ended up purchasing one a couple of years back. And once I purchased it, man, I was hooked. But one of the things I actually struggle with the machine is, one is sampling, and two is just being able to come up with ideas quickly. Now, one of the things that I noticed that I used to do is I would always try to approach working inside of the MPC the same way I would approach working inside of the machine. And it's just, you just can't do that. You have to actually wrap your head around the MPC and actually create a different workflow. And you know, I learned that the hard way. You know, I would actually spend a lot of time trying to create beats, as opposed to in Native Instruments, the machine platform, I would come up with things like very easily. I was able to navigate through the program and, you know, select my favorites. And that's one thing I really like about that platform, is I'm able to select my favorites, you know, recall it, come back to it later, create groups. I mean, I know that you can actually do that inside of the MPC, but it takes a little bit more work, and that's what I appreciated about the MPC, is you actually really have to work for your sound. So I let the machine just kind of sit here, and you know, for a while, you know, I would pick it up every once in a while, and every time I picked it up, man, I would always come up with something that I really liked, that I really liked. So I was just kind of tossing ideas around maybe a couple of months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, and I picked up a hack that I wanted to share with you guys. You know, it came up about 4 months ago, where I was in the studio, and you know, I just wasn't able to come up with anything, and I wasn't able to come up with anything with the MPC. So what I did was, is I powered down the MPC, and I said, you know what, let me go ahead and connect the machine up, and like instantly I came up with something that I liked. So I went ahead and made a beat on there, and I went to make another beat, and I was like, oh, cool. I started to make the other beat, got the melody right, and I was like, you know what would be cool? If I just exported this out and just used it as a sample inside of the MPC. It came out really good, and I didn't record it, but today, what I'm gonna be doing, I'm gonna go ahead and record. I'm gonna go ahead and record a hack that I use to come up with melodies very fast, and import it into the MPC, so that way I can come up with, you know, having the best of both worlds, an easy workflow, an easy fast workflow that the machine has, and incorporating that with the MPC, so that way I can use the MPC's workflow to kind of finish it all off as far as the beat making process of it. I know a lot of people probably in the comments will be like, hey, you can do that inside of the software, but I didn't bother myself with learning their software, nor do I even want to try to learn their software. So that's why I do it this way. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into the video. All right, so I'm happy with that. And usually, if the EQing is right and it doesn't sound like it's muddy or anything, I'll just bounce it out 2 track, get to working on a beat, and then when I'm finally finished inside of MPC with working on that beat, I then drag in all of the stems from that actual composition or whatever you want to call it. Me building building that sample inside a machine. And I ain't gonna even lie, I did most of that whole little transaction of what I just put together only took 8 minutes. I'm looking at the screen capture time on my laptop right now. So 8 minutes, I built the sample. It's cool. To me, it sounds good. And again, music is subjective. You guys might feel a little bit different, but I feel like that's something that I can work with and bring that inside of MPC to do something a little bit better with the drums. You know, being able to have my standalone workflow. Why do I do it like this? I guess it just kind of just makes me feel better as far as like, hey, you know, I could still use what I was really good at when I first started getting back to the beats and getting back into motion, which was machine, and actually incorporate what I really, really like right now, which is the MPC. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and get into the last part of the video. Yeah, so that puts me at about a done deal with that beat. I'm actually gonna put it inside of Studio One, do some leveling and some little EQing. Before putting it in Studio One, I'm gonna run it through some hardware, and you guys just stay tuned to listen to the finished project at the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Really appreciate it. I did say on my last video that I was actually asking for if there was any subscribers that wanted to hear some of my older machines like the ASR and the MPC 2500. That video's still in the making, but I ran into some problems with that one. I actually hooked the ASR up and did some things to it, but when I started trying to make a beat with it, it was some sound issues that I was having with it, where when I was pressing down on the pads, the noise, or I guess the vibration that was probably tapping up against the board, was coming out of the outputs. Again, this is something, a technique or a hack, something that I came up along the way using, you know, my machine and using their software and, you know, the plugins and the plethora amount of sounds that I have already with the Native Instruments platform, and actually just kind of just sampling them straight into the MPC. You know, there is no right or wrong way to do music, but I noticed that once I started doing this, whenever I had creative block, this was kind of like one of my go-to things that I would do, is just kind of just fire up machine, you know, lay down some melodies, lay down something that was nice, little 16 bar, 8 bar loops, and just sampling it straight inside of the MPC and getting busy. But if you like this content, if you like the workflow, or if you have something else that you might do differently, I'm always down to learn something new. But this is just kind of like the way that I do it. Thanks again for tuning in. Y'all have a wonderful one.